This time at the Quick Speed Shop, check it out! I'm building awesome tube front flat fenders for Project Rusty Junk YJ. I'm a professional, don't try this at home. Okay, bam, you can see how these look. They're all flat fendered out and they also dovetailed in. Let me go back to the start and I'll show you how I did it. Alright, so continuing our theme that we've been doing with the rack sliders and the rear fender flares, I want to make these front fender flares the same way. So I got more of that 4-inch wide flat stock and simply want to come up here and this lip that the original fender flare hooked to is all rusty and it goes back in and ties in the inner fender. So I want to cut this all off. We don't need this, and we're going to tube this out with some rectangular tubing out here and get rid of all this rot in this hole and kind of dovetail these fenders in. So the first thing I need to do is make the 4-inch piece back here and make sure that it covers up the rust holes, but it doesn't hang over to where we're going to cut it. And that looks, let's see, right about there. Looks about right. I think I want to cut this with the cutoff wheel first and get this metal out of the way. Open this right up, and then we can go from there. Now there is going to be holes in the fenders behind this still, but that doesn't matter. I don't think I can get this inner structure, so I'll probably have to use a couple of nutserts and put them into this inner fender to bolt these on. Look, it all looks better already. Alright, so that's going to be our new fender line here. I put this piece up on, and then the square tube that's going to make up the end of this here. There's also going to be square tube down to make a little flare down through here. So you can kind of see how it's all going to tie together, make a bigger wheel well, get some more tire clearance here all the way back, almost to the inner fender well. But since I cut that lip off there, now this is loose. I'm going to have to just clamp this together. I'll knock the paint off here and just stitch weld the end of the seam with a couple little tacks on to hold the sheet metal together so it doesn't rattle around. Okay, with all that trimmed off, I went and I took the tin snips and I cut some of the rod out of here. And I cleaned up the edge. I'm going to put a couple of spot welds just to hold this outer fender to the inner fender again. And then I've got some Eastwood rust converter. I'm just going to spray on this. I'm going to try it out and see how it works. Obviously it's going to be hidden under here, but I got some heavily rusted area here, so I'm going to try that rust converter just because we can. So I'll spot weld that on. And I've taken the 45-degree angle on a combination square, and I've drawn my line over where I want to cut this rock slider off so it can tie into here. So I can cut that off and cut this corner off because I'm working on figuring out what's going to go on here with the fender flare. I'm going to make the flare smaller than the rear one because I want to dovetail these fenders in the front. So I've gone with a piece of 1 by 1.5. Yeah, 1 by 1.5. And that's going to be the front flare. And then the 1.5 by 1.5 piece that I made the rack sliders out of, I'm also going to use some of that and make tube out the fenders so that the tube fender will come through the cut at an angle and tie into here and tie into this flare. But I want to suck all this in, so that's what we're working on right now. I got this preliminarily cut here, so look about that. But first I want to tie this in, get this out of the way, get this all trimmed off, and then be able to figure out where to make this flare. So I'll cut this off and weld it on up, and then we can keep going. Boom! Alright, so that worked out swell. I got this all welded up here. Boom. Rock solder tied in. I've gone ahead and clamped the piece back on here. So now what I'm doing is laying out the fender cut here for the tube fender up on top. I'm going to suck these in about half the width of the fender. That'll get rid of all this rust and all the holes that were cut out of it. I laid out this tape line up here. It looks like everything's clear on the bottom of the cut, except there's a brace for the hood tie down. I'll probably have to cut a little bit of that out to get the tubing to sit flush, but I'm going to cut along the inside of this tape line, lip off the whole outside of this fender. Up around front, I got the seam. There's actually a pinch weld seam to weld the front of the fender to the back of the fender. So I'm going to cut it up here, and I'm going to cut down around, I think about 2.5 inches, and then I'm going to cut across here and down. I'm going to leave about 1 inch of the fender sticking out of the front all the way around, and then it'll roll into the front lip. So there'll just be a little bit of curl in the front to give it a little bit of design, and the tubing will come out to here. Then I'll just box the end of it in with a piece of sheet metal so it maintains like the look of being out here. But it'll shorten these right up, get a little flat fender style look to it, and suck these in so when you're wheeling around trees, the tires will be hanging right out. You'll be able to get up close to stuff and not wad up the front of these fenders, you know. Eventually there'll be a bumper sticking out here, but these tend to get all smashed up, so we're going to cut a lot of this right off of here. Bam, there we go. That really did something there. Now, I'm just going to show you with this, but now we can take a piece of tubing and it will stick out here and it will weld on right under this lip here to make the outside of the fender. I'll simply clamp all the sheet metal down here and spot weld it along the top. Or not spot welded, lap seam it around the top, and this will just come down in through here. I've still got to grind this down, but this will come into here and tie in, and I'll box this corner in a little bit of sheet metal, but we'll have our pretty much our flat fender, tube fender look. And you have plenty of clearance. The tire actually sticks all the way out of the fender in the front, so this will suck this right in nice to get it out of the way. And then when I make a bumper, I've only got to bring the bumper out to about here, so the tire will have lots of room out to get in close to obstacles and push off things like rocks and stuff like that. So took all this extraneous sheet metal and got it out of there. Okay, cut up my upper piece of tubing here, got it clamped on. I had to drill a knot, put a notch in it to go around the lip where the front of the fender welds on here. I just drilled 2 holes, 1/4 inch holes, and then cut like a U-shaped notch, so that's pushed in there where it's got to be. And I've just got it simply clamped on, but this sheet metal all clamped down nice, and when I skip lap it, it'll be fine. So I got that clamped on there. I ended up turning the fender flare piece on the wide dimension here because it hung out past this piece and it looked kind of goofy. So now everything's all tied in nice, and you can see what it's really going to look like. It's opening all this up good. I got my 45 that I did cut going this way for the top. I was able to use it for the bottom here, so this is 45 down into the rub rail, and that ties in good here to be able to sneak right past stuff. So here you can see how it really sucks in good. The tire's hanging right out, so this will give tons of maneuverability and stop getting this random sheet metal that's just hanging out here doing nothing from getting wadded up here, so that's good. So I like it. It looks pretty tough. It looks tube. It's tucked in. Got her narrowed right down there. Probably is clean all this up with a dual action sander, clean all this metal up. I'm going to take this off, weld the plate onto the flare piece here, and I'll get the 3 bolt holes drilled and get the nut certs put into the fender, and then I'm going to clean this up and weld this on. And I think I'm going to make this permanent right on the fender. I'll bolt it on here, paint the back side of it, bolt this on, and then I'm going to weld this up all the way around to tie it together, then weld a cap on here to overlap all this, and just kind of make this all structural onto the fender. I got my nut insert gun here. I've drilled 3 holes in the fender. I'm just putting some 1/4 20 nut certs in here with this panel bolt tube. And simply push them in the hole and squeeze her down. Give it a couple more turns and bam. What this tool does is when you pull the handle down, it mushrooms out this the body of the nut insert and makes it so it can't come out. So it's going to work great. Whoa. The insert went through both panels of the fender. You actually see it dimpled the fender down a little bit, so that's flush now. So when I bolt these on, it'll suck this right down tight, but it also secured the inner fender panel to this piece, even though I also welded it. I also took some Eastwood rust converter here, and I just sprayed it on these rusty parts. It says scrape all the loose rust off and spray it on. About 4 to 8 hours for a cure, then you can top coat it. So I just sprayed it on. It'll turn black eventually when it converts this rust into a non-rusting material. But I just want to put a little protection on. Fluid film right here. This is lanolin wax, and I'll just put it on there, and it'll put this wax behind here and keep this thing from rusting and get moisture behind it. This will keep all that out, and it'll eventually bleed around all the seams and keep moisture and dirt out. When I get done painting everything, I'm going to spray the seams, or I welded the angle iron on here, and spray all these seams and let it creep down behind it, and it'll get up good. But this will keep it all, it's like a waxy coating here. See, that actually can spread some right on these holes right now. Boom. But it'll keep all this from rusting anymore, just so this thing doesn't turn into a complete pile of garbage. Here, bam, check it out. I welded the lower part of the flare onto the here, and I got it bolted on. Now I got the piece of upper pipe clamped back on. I went and I primed it on 3 sides, so it's got some protection up under here. And I've marked out with soapstone every 2 inches on my fender, so I'm just going to skip lap it and spot it all the way down through here. Just kind of skip lap it on there. And I've left this open. I'm going to take this back off and primer this and paint it in place, and then I'll put it back on and weld up this final seam and cap this tubing off. I'm also going to spray some fluid film down inside the tube so it doesn't rust, and I've drilled a weak hole in the bottom of it down here to let any moisture out, and I can spray fluid film up inside it to keep it from rusting. If you weld up tubing like this, well, you should always have a hole to let the hot air out when you're welding up a tube solid, number 1. Number 2, I've had other stuff I built that sat outside condense moisture or get moisture in it from a pinhole or whatever, and fill this up and actually freeze and swell up the steel tubing. So I always put a drain hole in the bottom just in case, to keep the water out and all that. So this is ready to weld. I'm just going to spot it and work it down in, and then we'll be good to go. Bam, check that out. It's got skip lapped across the top. I'll go ahead and hit this with the grinder and clean this up. But it's a little flexy now, but when I weld this corner in, it'll tie all this in right tight. Okay, got this piece painted on here, and I've made a little cap piece here. I'm just going to weld on the top of this, but it overlaps onto the front fender flare, and I'm going to burn this all around in here, and we'll be all set to go, tied together. Alright, bam, here we go. Got a coat of primer thrown on here, all ground down. This looks good. And the thing I'm going to do is just paint the fender open the hood and paint the whole top of the fender and the edge all flat black to continue this flat black body armor around here. I'll leave the gold back here, but this will all be flat black. Finish off where this is all flat metal. I got a piece of 1/4 inch round rod, and I think I'm simply going to take this and bend it in shape and roll it right around here and form a piece of round rod to make the edge of this, give it some structure, and I'll just simply tack weld it right to the edge where I cut this fender off. So I think that'll be the ticket to finishing this off. But got to do a bunch of little fit and all that of just cutting out sheet metal. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this and then weld that in, and then I'll bring it back and I'll show you the round rod. Alright, I got this corner made in here. I used a piece of 16 gauge sheet metal. Just bent it around, pie cut it, rolled it down here, welded it up in. Made a nice little corner for that. Now the last step here is I got this 1/4 inch round rod right here, and I'm gonna go and, like I said, frame the edge of this fender out like this in round rod and tack it every so often, and that'll give a nice stable edge to the sheet metal here. So I think what I want to do is I'm going to get down here first and with my marker. Start down here on the bottom. I'm going to mark where I got to bend it. There, I'm going to get it in the vise, get it over here, get this laid up here. Looks like another bend right here-ish. First of all, let me tweak her just a little bit, lay this out. There we go. I just bent it by hand in the vise. There we go there. Let's see. This needs to flare out just a little bit because of the flare of the grill shell here. So this will actually be rolled out like this. I need to go bend it back in. Aha! Perfect. Bam. Close enough for government work. Now I need to bend this down here. Bam, like, whoop. Look at that. That's super close. I think what I'm going to do is cut the length out here, and I'm just going to get a couple tacks in it and bring the sheet metal over to meet it, and it'll be close enough for what we're doing. But that'll frame this edge out. Bam, there we go, check that out. Got a fresh a couple of coats of flat black on it. The last one's got a flash off. But these two fenders came out super awesome. It looks great. It's going to be pretty strong, well, super strong. And I didn't know how I was going to do it, and just kind of came to fruition. So I like it. I like how it ties in. I like having the big flare on the back, which is unbolted right now. But I like having the big flare on the back. I like the small fender flare here. I like the taper in. I like the tube fender look. I like the flat fender look. That was genius using the round rod to make the front lip of that. That looks mint. So I'm really happy with the way it came out. Now this whole side of the Jeep is done fabrication wise, and I can use all my patterns I made and all that to kick out the other side because I haven't done any of that yet. The Jeep's all against the wall. So I'll spin it around. I'll just bang out the whole rest of the other side just like this. It'll take me a lot less time because I already know where I can cut. I've got all my things laid out, templates made, cardboard made, so I can really hammer this out quick and get it done. But bam, there we go. Custom tube fender action on Project Rusty Junk YJ. Oh, I almost forgot to mention, I also got hardtop doors here. Check this out. Oh, wait, that's broke. Hold on. These are on Craigslist. The guy had them. A pair of them that some guy started doing a restoration on some Jeep years ago and stopped, and the Jeep's gone and he had the doors. I had to get a pair of hinges for this side. These are old Smittybilt hinges I got from my buddy Tony, which you got from our other buddy Charlie, but I think they're stainless, brushed stainless or whatever, but they went right on there. These doors are completely rust free. They're mint, except this one's got all the paint sanded off it, so I got to sand this down, throw some paint on it. The other door is silver, silverish gold, kind of like the color of the Jeep, but not quite the same. That door, there's nothing wrong with it. All the paint's on it, the door panel's on it, the inside of the door handle works. So that one's all set. But this one, see how the side of the Jeep shakes. I also got to make a tab here. I'm going to weld to the roll bar and weld it to the side to hold that in because it's broken down beneath middle of it. Anyways, so I got hardtop doors now with roll-up windows. So when this thing sits outside, I can roll the windows up and keep the rain out of the cab. That'll be nice. And then when I'm wheeling, I can take them off. I also slapped on a mirror that I found laying in the back of the Jeep. It's got a stainless steel mount. Mounts onto the windshield hinge so I can still have a mirror even when the doors are off. When I'm wheeling, I can just like crank it around here out of the way or crank it down into the hole so it doesn't get ripped off. But I've got a mirror if I need it. So bam, hardtop door action. I think I paid, yeah, the guy had them on there for a couple months for $250, then he dropped them to $150. So I thought that was fair for a set of hardtop doors. They're kind of hard to find for YJs around here. Everybody's in the TJs now. So got my YJ hardtop doors on there, ready to go. This thing's all sealed up. So bam, that's it. Some awesome fabrication on the front fenders on the Project Rusty Junk YJ. Sheet metal fabrication's complete, like I said. I'll just kick out the other side. Next time we're going to go into fixing the frame rails. I got a plan to rebuild the rear frame rails, changing the way they mount, relocating the gas tank for some more clearance in the back. We're going to build the rear frame rails, then we got to fix the one front frame rail, and then it's on the bumpers, and then this thing is ready to wheel. So thanks for watching this series. I'm a Jeeper now. I like building this thing. It's easy, especially if you just don't care. You can just weld it all together, rattle can it, and get ready to go. That's what I like. I like the fabrication part of it and getting things done. So it's been pretty fun building this project right quick here on the channel. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe. I'm putting out new videos every Wednesday and Saturday. Hit the bell for alerts. Tell your friends, and we'll see you right back here at the Quick Speed Shop building rusty junk Jeeps like Project Rusty Junk YJ.